So the media over the weekend, they were like, oh, did you see what Donald Trump did with the Covid.com or .gov website? He put it on the whitehouse.gov website now, all the lies about COVID. You mean all the corrections on COVID? This is an amazing thing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Stu, about what they published at whitehouse.gov. The origin, according to public health officials and the media, to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. Point 1, the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Number 2, data shows that all COVID-19 cases come from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. 3, Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, gene altering, and organism supercharging in an inadequate biosafety level. Number 4, Wuhan Institute of Virology. Researchers were sick with COVID with symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. We talked about that. I mean, probably within a couple of months of COVID happening, we had that information. We're like, let's look back. Why were they redoing all of that institute? You know, they completely gutted all of the air ducts, everything else. They completely upgraded it around November. And then lo and behold, in December, we start to find out that, whoa, something in the wet market happened. By nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. This is from the White House now. And it goes through all of it. And then it goes through Fauci's pardon and his obstruction and EcoHealth's obstruction and Dr. David Morin's and, the obstruction of your favorite person. I think you'll really like what they say about Andrew Cuomo on the website.
Yeah, that was probably. But I think it's the best place on the entire internet for that reason. We found it.
Cuomo's failures.
It just says Andrew Cuomo failure.
Failure.
Which I love. Yeah. And it's a great summary of his entire life, not just this particular issue. But yeah, I thought a lot of it, if you follow this stuff closely, was not new information, right? It was a good summary and a breakdown of the stuff that we have learned over the past few years on this topic. I think the key thing,
but you know what? I still don't think that it is recognized as the official thing. I mean, this has been out now for a long time. You know, we started doing most of this stuff we had within 6 or 8 months of the actual outbreak. We knew by the summer. And we were broadcasting all of this, and we didn't have all of the documents, but we had everything that led up to the document that said, hey, we got to change all this. We had the document before going, hey, I think you guys are wrong. Then a document that said, we should probably talk offline. And then the next document we had was, no, everything we were saying is the complete opposite now. We didn't have the middle document there. And that's been released now. So we had all of this stuff, just not the smoking guns. All the smoking guns are there. And I still don't think, and it's partially because who's going to jail over this? Millions of people died. Millions. Is anybody be held responsible for this?
That's a great question. It doesn't seem. I hope that's a high priority of the administration. There's several things out of this level. I would also throw something like Joe Biden was mentally incapable to be president of the United States and everyone was hiding it. I'd put that into the same category. But I think the key thing that from this, which I don't think enough people know, is the cover up. I think.
Yeah, that's the real. It always is.
You're right. We said a lot of these things in the months after COVID came out, and a lot of it really early, frankly. But part of the problem as to why it didn't become, I think, the consensus at the time was all of these institutional mainstream sources disagreeing with it, right? And no offense
and
to
the fact. Stu, we couldn't say anything about COVID and not get banned. And demonetized. All the shows that we did, unless you were a member of the Blaze, you didn't see them. Because we put them online and you didn't see them.
Yeah, and to be clear, our solution to that problem was to say it anyway and get banned and demonetized. Which, again, what else are you going to do? I don't know why else we would have this job if you're not going to go for that. But there was that situation where we were saying it, and sure people in this audience heard it, and yes, some people on the right were familiar with the skepticism and the pushback on this stuff. But because none of these mainstream media outlets really adopted any of those positions or took them seriously or even gave them a fair hearing, a lot of people just, understandably, if you're on the left, you're looking at this stuff and you see, okay, well, Glenn Beck's saying it. I'm not going to believe it. The New York Times is saying it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not surprised they just believed that. That cover-up where people right under Fauci are on record saying they want to delete the emails so that they can't, so that no one finds out about what they're talking about. That sort of stuff, while I think the lab leak theory and some of those other pieces of skepticism that the conservative side had early on have been very much vindicated, the cover-up as to why it needed to be vindicated has not really had the attention it deserves yet.
100% true. Now, why? Why?
I mean, it's the same people. I will say, some of these places have written about this now. Some of these places have talked about it, but it hasn't been the hey, did you know Donald Trump is Hitler sort of march? And you'd think it would be. I mean, as you point out, millions of people died here. You'd think that it would be something they would focus on and draw a lot of attention to and continue to kind of beat the drum until someone was held responsible. And they don't seem to have any interest in that whatsoever. They kind of like, it seems like now they're in that stage where they want to say, look, we have this op-ed. We've talked about it. Mm-hmm. And they have, most of them have run an op-ed by now, right? Like they've run, but it's not been this constant thing. It's not this deep dive, constantly sending reporter after reporter after reporter to find out what actually happened. That stuff doesn't seem to be of interest at all.
If we make a mistake, we correct it because it drives us crazy that we made the mistake. And I don't want anybody to believe that I'm standing behind something that we found out was wrong and a lie. I mean, we might be wrong from time to time, but we've never knowingly lied. I think some of these groups, they knowingly lied. The New York Times, they were knowingly lying about Joe Biden and his senility. Knowingly lying. They knew. People in the media knew. They just didn't want to hurt, or I should say it this way, they just didn't want to help Donald Trump. So they thought that a senile old man with the buttons is much better than a Donald Trump. They thought, not knowing who the president of the United States actually is, they say they're defending the Constitution now because if we don't have a Constitution, if we don't have rule of law, we have no country. Where was your rule of law with Joe Biden? Who actually was running the White House? Who was running it? You don't want the rule of law. You want control. That's what you want. And, I would be horrified if I had been a part of any of that. Horrified. They're not. And you know what? There's no consequence. They're not going to lose any advertisers. The New York Times hasn't lost any real money because of this. Their people just continue to watch. I mean, if we were this wrong about things, I would hope that we would have seen a lot of cancellations. I would hope that people are like, I don't know if I can trust you anymore, Glenn. Because we would have earned that. Especially after a couple of years where I'm like, oh, by the way, all of that stuff we said was wrong. Hey, in other news. And that's what they're doing. They just run one little story like, everything we said was wrong. And then they go on it, but Donald Trump is Hitler. Why should I? That's the thing I just don't understand. How do people continue to believe the people who have been so wrong about stuff that is this important? They lied to you. They knowingly lied to you. How? Donald Trump appointed somebody to do Doge. Yeah, well, he wasn't elected. Who was the president of the United States? Because the guy we elected, he wasn't the president. Why does it matter now that Doge, which the president has absolute right to do, He's not the president. He's not making these calls on his own. He's reporting to the president. Why is Doge such a problem? But, Joe Biden crapping his pants and looking, trying to find old jelly beans in the couch from, Ronald Reagan days, that's totally fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how people live with themselves. But
yeah, wouldn't it?
They do, strangely.
At the very least, give you a sense of fallibility. That, like, hey, I can get sucked into something like this and be totally wrong, and I should really watch myself next time I decide I want to write, story number 9,345 that Trump is Hitler. Maybe question whether my certainty is warranted. And yeah. I think that's something they just never have, that moment of self-reflection.
None. It's come out. Everything about, the Russiagate came out now in court documents that, Hillary Clinton was the one who approved all of that. And she knew it wasn't accurate, but she approved it. Why? Why doesn't anybody know about that? Why doesn't anybody care? Because nobody in the media actually cares. Ends justify the means. They just hate Donald Trump so much. They'll do anything, anybody. They will sleep with, they will sharpen the knives of anyone that says they'll put that in the back of Donald Trump.